front of Allegiant Stadium, where Matt and I are some of the final remaining people here after Super Bowl 58. But like we said before the break, there is a whole lot to break down in regard to this game. The good, the bad, the ugly, probably more ugly for the 49ers. But at any rate, let's just talk about how this game started, Matt. The 49ers, they got the ball after the opening kickoff. They drove right down the field into Chiefs territory. They were in field goal range. It looked like they were definitely going to get points on the board on that very first drive. But Christian McCaffrey does something very uncharacteristic of the AP Offensive Player of the Year. He fumbles around the 25, 30-yard line, which just kind of killed the momentum from the get-go when the 49ers kind of came out and made a statement on that drive up until that moment. And you just kind of wonder what that did to the 49ers psychologically over the first quarter or first half after that moment.
Yeah, I felt like that drive was actually pretty symbolic of this game in general, right? The 49ers are dominating. They're marching down the field. The Chiefs don't really have an answer, just like the Niners were the better team and the dominant team throughout this entire game. But when it came to the end and when it came to actually putting the points on the board and creating the separation, they fumbled this game away. So, like, that opening drive certainly set the tone for how this night would go for the San Francisco 49ers. Look, the Kansas City Chiefs defense has been really, really good this season. The 49ers defense in this game was superb, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more. They did their job to win this game. Like you said, that's an uncharacteristic mistake by Christian McCaffrey. Typically, he doesn't make those mistakes, just like typically the San Francisco 49ers don't waste so many good drives and so many opportunities to score like they did tonight.
Absolutely, but even though the 49ers did fumble on that first drive, the 49ers still raced out to a 10-0 lead. Some of that was courtesy of Jake Moody's record field goal. Well, at the time, which was a record. It didn't stand for long, thanks to Harrison Buckner. And then right after that, you saw the 49ers, after that first drive, they were struggling a little bit to move the ball. So what does Kyle Shanahan do when they get down near the red zone? He goes into his bag of tricks and calls a play for Juwan Jennings to throw it back to Christian McCaffrey, who ends up running it in for the touchdown, and for actually the first touchdown of the Super Bowl. So interesting play call there by Kyle Shanahan. But hey, it put the 49ers on the board. And that's the thing. I think with the thing with Shanahan, he knows he has so many weapons on that offense.
Right.
And I think it was just like, okay, well, they're going to follow this person. I can hit you with Juwan Jennings, and who threw a pretty good ball, even though he was hurried. But at any rate, despite the rough start, the Niners still raced out to a 10-0 lead and took a 10-3 lead at the half. And then, Matt, that's when the second half happened.
Yeah, well, first off, how about Juwan Jennings becoming just the second player in Super Bowl history to throw and catch a touchdown, which is pretty incredible. He was my Super Bowl MVP all the way up until that fourth quarter and the Chiefs kind of stealing this game away. But yeah, the second half was a different story. Not defensively for the 49ers. I still thought defensively the 49ers did well in that second half. It's tough to keep Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs out of the end zone for as long as the Niners did. The Niners defense did their job to win this game.
Superb.
The offense just stumbled, and they really stumbled to start that second half with 3 straight drives that ended in punts. Like, again, if your defense is going to give you that many opportunities to score, you have to score. And Brock Purdy talked about that a lot. He was asked, like, what's his biggest lesson learned from this Super Bowl loss and this performance? And he said, when you're in the Super Bowl, in any game, but especially the Super Bowl, if teams are going to give you opportunities to score, you have to take those opportunities. The Niners didn't take advantage of the opportunities. And again, Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, they're not going to be kept down long. They're going to make a run. If you give them hope, typically they'll capitalize on it.
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to say in regard to that is that, when they went down there, when the 49ers in the third quarter, I remember there was a time when Matt and I were talking in the press box up where we were sitting at, and I was saying, you know what, Matt, I think this is 4th down territory for Kyle Shanahan. And, Matt was thinking, well, conservatively, just take the points, the 3 points. And I was like, no, you're going against Patrick Mahomes. You know what that team is capable of doing, especially in the third quarter, fourth quarter, when Mahomes just throws on the Superman cape and turns into some kind of Marvel or DC character. I don't know what Superman is. But at any rate, at that point in time, we saw Shanahan did that. He went for it on that 4th and 2 gutsy call They did end up getting the first down. And then I believe Brock Purdy threw the touchdown pass to Jawan Jennings, if I'm not mistaken. So, with that being said, you, as a 49ers, you have to take your opportunities when you have them. And like you said, they weren't able to capitalize on any of the mistakes that Kansas City made, even when they got when Smith got the interception. They punted it, 3 plays after that or 4 plays after that. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to capitalize when you're going against Mahomes, but you also have to try to get as many points as you can. Try to build that lead as long as you can, because Mahomes is going to make a run in the fourth quarter, and boy did he today.
But there was an element of that you might have left out that I think is the big difference maker in this game too, Kevin, is you go for it on that fourth down, you convert, you get a touchdown pass to Jawan Jennings, and then Jake Moody has his point after attempt block. That goes from a 4-point Niner lead then to a 3-point Niner lead, meaning all the Chiefs needed to do was kick a field goal to send this game to overtime. Of course, they did that. I don't know if the Chiefs would have been kept out of the end zone had they had to go for it instead of settling for a field goal, but ultimately that point came back to bite the came back to bite the San Francisco 49ers. And Jake Moody had a fantastic game, especially as a rookie in the Super Bowl, but that's probably what's going to keep him up at night tonight and maybe for the next few months before next season.
Absolutely. Just self-inflicted. That can happen. Also, another thing, Brock Purdy, even as a young player, second-year player, I thought he did a pretty fine job tonight. And
Very good.
Maybe silence some of those haters.